Hey there, this is Terry Wheat from OnceUponAWheat.com. Thanks so much for joining us. I am not sick right now, but we are entering cold and flu season, and there have been a lot of different nasty viruses going around, bugs that from time to time we will all catch. And fortunately, I tend to be a bit of a weak link in my family, and I end up sick fairly regularly. I have a husband who works in hospital settings, and then I have 4 kids somewhere within the school systems, and I work from home. And so I am not as regularly exposed to germs for my immune system outside of the home. So I have a lot of experience with this, unfortunately, being sick on our travels, and these are my 12 secret weapons that help me through. I feel like they help me to get better more quickly and definitely help me to be less miserable and enjoy our travels much more. So I want to give those to you. Some of them you may have heard of or may know, and some of them you probably haven't, and but I think they're all good ones. So I'm going to give you 12, and one of my favorites that I use a lot, both on travels and at home, is the Neti Pot or the bottle. Sinus rinse bottle. So my favorite is the Neti Pot, and I'll show you how to use these here in a second. But living in the Midwest, a lot of people have, myself included, have what we call sinuses. And I didn't realize for years that it's really allergies, that I have allergies. I always thought that I wasn't allergic to things because it wasn't the typical onset that I thought that people with allergies had, but that's what I think a lot of sinuses around here are. And if you, especially with me, if you let them go, then they can progress into a sinus infection. I was in this vicious circle of having sinuses, and then they would advance and become much more sick than I wanted to be or needed to be. So sometimes if you have the flu or a cold, you are definitely going to have nasal congestion and mucus, and so no fun. But there is relief, and I will tell you how to use this in a second. When I have, this is not something that you can use if you're completely stopped up. But if you are not, I taught our kids probably when they were about 6, I would say they could do it and above. So you can teach kids that young. I think they tried it when they were like 4 and 5, but it freaked them out a little bit. It does not hurt. It is not what you're thinking. I've talked to some people who it did hurt because they didn't measure and they used their own homemade concoction and they weren't really sure what to do. So I don't want you to do that. So first of all, you are going to need warm water. Now, some people, myself included years ago, use warm tap water, and I quit doing that because several years ago in some southern states there were a number of deaths from Neti Pot. Extremely rare, not all that likely to happen. I still know plenty of people who use the tap water, but I just don't feel comfortable doing that anymore, especially the fact that I have kids doing it. I can live with something happening. So I buy distilled water, or if I'm at home, if I'm traveling, I do this distilled water. If I'm at home, a lot of times I will boil the water and in a tea kettle, and then I'll let it cool to, you want the warmth of about, on your wrist, about what you would have a baby's bath water, to where it's comfortable on your wrist but still warmer than room temperature. And when you're done with it, you're going to keep the remainder in the refrigerator so it doesn't get any further bacteria or germs in it. And then there is a recipe that I have used a number of times, especially if it's just typical allergies and I'm not necessarily feeling terrible. Sometimes I will mix my own, but I always keep on hand the packets that you can buy at any pharmacy. They are Sinus Wash Saline packets. You can get them in a variety of different brands, a variety of different shapes, but these are great for travel too in vacation. And when you're sick, especially when you have little kids, you do not want to take the time to measure things out. It's kind of a pain. And so I always have the packets on hand. And if I'm sick, I just use the packets. So the recipe, if you were going to mix your own, if you're going to be using this a lot or have a number of family members and you don't want to have to buy the packets, I feel like they're not that expensive, but a number of people do like to mix their own. It is a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. And for this, you want to either use pickling salt, which is purer than regular table salt, or you can actually buy pharmaceutical grade salt online. So you'll want to use one of those. This is going up into your sinuses near your brain, so you want a purer version. And then a 1/16 a teaspoon of baking soda. And so you will put those in your neti pot or in your bottle. In the bottom, you'll add your warm water up to close to the top, about the bottom of the lid. You'll shake it up really good. Of course, you're going to cover the holes to do that. And then you are going to put it in one of your nostrils. And everyone has a fear in the beginning that it's going to be like when you're in the swimming pool and the water shoots up your nose and it's painful. It's not like that because you're not using chlorine water. And cold water is unpleasant, but it's not painful like a lot of people think that it would be. It's only painful because of the chlorine. So it's unpleasant to use cold, but if you have to, you can do it. It's much more something that is a lot easier if you use warm water. So you take it, you put it in one nostril, and the trick is you need to be breathing out as you're pouring in. So otherwise it can start to go down your throat. People get choked up. They don't like it. It's not a good thing. And so you need to very specifically tell children this also. And whenever I tell people to make sure they're breathing out as the water enters their sinuses, then they don't have a problem. Sometimes you'll have, depending on how swollen you are up there, sometimes you'll have a little bit drip in the back of your throat, but not much at all, as long as you're breathing out when it goes. And then you can breathe regularly. You can even talk if you need to. You'll finish. If I have a lot of respiratory stuff going on, then I go ahead and use an entire pot per side. So when you're done with this, stop, blow your nose. You're going to have a lot of water in there. You're probably going to have gunk if you're really sick, and you're going to see gunk pour out as you're doing this. And so after you get your nose blown, then you'll put another pot and do it on the other side. Now, if it's just a little bit and you're not really sick, but you just have like a hint of allergies going on, then I'll split the pot. So that is what I do with the neti pot. And if I am sick with a nasally thing, I bring that with. So it's great for allergies, but it's also great, as I said, for cold and flu, because even though it's only a symptom and it's not everything that you're experiencing with your sickness, just to get those germs out and flush them out, not only makes you not so stuffy and your head isn't aching as bad, but flushing those germs out is a good thing. And I feel like I get better much more quickly. So that's number one. Let's see, number two is something that I just found out about probably about 1.5 years ago, and I started using it. I didn't necessarily believe that some of these herbs or supplements or things like that would necessarily help, but I started using zinc tablets if I have like a flu especially, or cold. It says on here specifically for cold, but it helped me a lot with the flu. And you can take that every couple of hours. You want to check, even though it's something that seems like it would be super safe and you could use it with everything, it does have some bad drug interactions with some simple things. And so you want to make sure, ask your pharmacist or do some research online to make sure that you can take it, but the majority of people will be able to take it. And I noticed, I've been sick a couple times with the flu on vacation where you're achy and just don't feel good. And we had some hiking to do in the Badlands. And I took this, and you can tell, you can take this every couple of hours. And when those couple of hours were wearing off, I could tell that I needed it again. And so I feel like it really made a difference and really helped me. So that's my number 2, zinc tablets. Pretty good. Number 3, your kids especially will appreciate this. A lot of times when kids are sick, they have that red, raw nose, and some adults even, and I used to have that all the time until I found number 3, which is Puffs Plus. They do not sponsor me. I am not affiliated with Puffs in any way, but you will never have another red raw nose if you use these. So they have a gentle, soft, silky, smooth lotion within the tissue infused in there, and so it's really soft. And when you have a cold, a head cold, this will be a lifesaver. You will love that. So definitely get your Puffs Plus. Number 4, even if you're in a hotel room or staying somewhere, you can bring a bottle of Lysol. I didn't bring any down with me, but I spray around Lysol when we're sick a lot of times, because with 6 of us in the family, a lot of times if one gets it, it hits the whole family, and just spray that around every once in a while, once a day, twice a day, just to get rid of some of those germs in the air so it doesn't continue to spread to the rest of us. So, number 5, if you have a queasy belly, if you have some kind of stomach thing going on, peppermint. The flavoring of peppermint tends to soothe your belly. It sounds like maybe an old wives' tale, but it really does work. If you have a really strong stomach bug with a lot of vomiting, it may not prevent vomiting, but I feel like it does help. Another thing, you know, if you are driving through mountains or different elevations, or if you are going to be on roller coasters or on boats with out in the ocean, and anyone in your family has a tendency to become motion sick, then don't forget to bring either your Dramamine if you want to use that, or they have those pressure point bracelets that we have. We have not used those yet, but we do have them. And those are supposed to really help with nausea and vomiting. So those things can help. Some people take peppermint oil, some people put it where they can smell it, like on their skin, and say even the scent helps, and I'm sure it probably would. It's got that cool, fresh scent, and so I think it probably would work just as well as the peppermint candies or, you know, other things. Peppermint candy is what I tend to use. They also have peppermint tea and a number of other things. Number 6, I mentioned that I have allergies, and so I know a lot of people do not do anything to take care of those until it's a big problem, and that's the way I used to be. But for the past couple years, I have been using Claritin every day. Claritin does not work for everyone. I have family who swear by Zyrtec. I have family who swear by Flonase, and all the different ones. People are different, and so what works for one will not work for another. But if you have continuous allergies, I find I have pretty strong allergies throughout the year, 12 months of the year, and so I find that it's better if you can maintain it with a daily small little maintenance thing. That way I don't have nearly as many flare-ups with sinus infections, and it seems like a lot of times my sinus infections would, you know, go into other illnesses, or, you know, get into my chest, and the next thing I know I have bronchitis, or create bigger problems. And so if you can take something that's maintenance, that can help prevent you from getting other illnesses too. So number 7, having said that, I am not a big medicine person. So I don't like to take medicine. I don't like to take it needlessly, and I don't like having a ton of chemicals in my body, and I like to have my immune system kind of strengthen itself, and plus I'm just a little stubborn, and I just don't always, especially at home, take medicines, and a lot of times I don't even think about it, to manage the symptoms. When I'm really sick, I'm just laying on the couch and miserable if I'm home. But I always remember to take medicine if we are traveling, because you don't want to be miserable. You want to feel as absolutely well as you can. And so take those. I have the most luck with the things that I have had on vacations lately with Dayquil Severe, or Mucinex D. My dad, I know, has had a lot of luck with Coricident. Everyone's going to be different, and that leads me to another thing. Check with the pharmacist. I think that's another good tip, because you can tell them about what your conditions are: diabetes, asthma, COPD, whatever the issues are. You can tell them about the other drugs you're on, and they know what is most effective. They know about the new stuff out there. You can tell them all of your symptoms, your conditions, your drugs, and they can tell you the best fit for you. And so I have found that really helpful, and I've had a lot of success with asking the pharmacist. So make sure that you do that as well. And also, you want to not only feel better and enjoy your trip, but you want to do that for yourself, but you want to do that for your family too. You don't want to be dragging everyone else down. So some people swear by essential oils, and I have used a couple that were highly recommended that people swear by, and I didn't have any luck with those. I couldn't tell a difference. That doesn't mean they won't work for other people. I haven't tried all of them, but if you do not want to do medicines, if those work for you strong enough to really kick your symptoms while you're on vacation, then by all means go for it. But definitely do something to really get a hold of your things. Even if it is just masking the symptoms for a few hours, do it so that you feel better and can get through the trip and do the things that you want to do that you're going to be disappointed after if you didn't get to do. So, let's see. Number 8, I take my vitamins and my vitamin C. I take my vitamins every day, multivitamins, and I take vitamin C throughout the winter. But if I am sick, regardless of what time of year it is, I bring my vitamins with me. Generally, I don't necessarily bring those on vacation, but if I'm sick, I feel like they cannot hurt, they can only help, and so I bring those, so don't forget to bring those. Number 9 is to take it easy and rest a little bit. I go 100 miles an hour when I'm on vacation, trying to do as much as I can. And because a lot of times I'm seeing new things that I have never seen before, a lot of times they may be things that I may never get around to being able to see again. So don't kill yourself trying to see things. You know, when we went to the Badlands, we didn't do the full-on hikes that we had planned on doing. We kind of did the outskirts. We drove to a lot of places. We got out at the lookouts, did a little tiny bit of hiking around the edge, but I didn't kill myself to do it because I didn't want to make myself sicker and I didn't want to make myself miserable, and I just did not have the energy and didn't feel well. But I did as much as I could. But don't feel pressured to do everything you might do when you're well. And also, sleep is another thing. Everyone knows you need your sleep. You especially need it for when you are sick, because that's when your body repairs itself, and I feel like you'll get better more quickly if you get your sleep. So, number 10, I just said you need to rest if you need it and don't overdo it, but number 10 is to move. You still want to move your body. You don't want to just lay around and stay in bed for the couple of days, because I feel like movement is good for you. And sometimes you feel like you're really sick and really feeling terrible, but when you get up and move a little bit, it seems to help, and it seems to, especially near the end of an illness, make you feel better more quickly, in my experience. So, number 11, shower. Especially if you have the flu. You may miss a day here or there, but try to shower even if you don't feel like it, because I feel like it washes off those germs, and also I feel like it makes you feel much better. When I have had the stomach flu, I think, oh, the last thing I want to do is take the energy to get in the shower. But then after, when you're refreshed, you get those germs off of you, it just feels a little bit better. And the steam is really good for you, especially if you have any respiratory things going upper or lower in your lungs or in your sinuses, then that can be really good for you too. And if you take a hot shower, it can feel really good on those sore, achy muscles that are hurting from being sick. So a shower can often make you feel better. And don't feel like you have to go dressed to the nines with the full hair and makeup. You know, take it easy. Wear a hat. Don't wear makeup, or, you know, keep it easy. You want to go out and do things on your vacation and hit your highlights, but don't kill yourself over it. Make it easy on yourself. And number 12, and this is a good one. This is not necessarily for people who go onto their vacation sick, but this is something that can definitely make you very sick, and it can even kill you. So carbon monoxide. There are only 14 states in the United States who have regulations for hotels to have carbon monoxide detectors, and that's in the United States. There are more problems worldwide, and there are over 500 people a year in the United States alone who die from accidental carbon monoxide poisoning, and that there are over 15,000 who end up in ERs and or hospitalized in the US alone. So there are continually, every year I see news stories, more commonly in the winter because of heaters, but it can happen in the summer too. And sometimes I saw an article here recently where nearly 50 people were severely sick and injured due to it in a hotel. I have seen it happen at rentals where people go on vacations, where they rent houses or condos. And so bring a carbon monoxide detector and plug it into the wall. I got this online, and it could save your life. It could save your whole family's life, because if you're awake, you'll notice some of the symptoms. You'll notice you have a headache, maybe, hopefully, and you'll notice some other things. If you go to sleep, chances are you may never wake up. And it has killed entire families who have rented houses, or even those in hotels. It's not worth it. And when you're done with it, this isn't something that you can only use on vacation. You can use this in your home as well. We have smoke detectors that have smoke detection and carbon monoxide protection, but I still plug this in at home as just an extra layer, because why not? So it can save your life. So those are my top 12 secret weapons. I hope they were able to help you. I hope you're never sick on vacation at all, and that these will just help you at home. But there they are. So thanks so much for joining us. If you haven't yet, check out our blog on onceuponaweek.com. That's where I put all of our travel articles on all the different places we go. I try to make them as value added and as helpful as I possibly can. Subscribe and like our videos. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you don't miss any of our videos as they come out. I generally do one a week, but and they're not all necessarily travel. I do it on whatever I think will be helpful. So, and then come check us out on social media. We'd love to have you. We're available on Facebook and Instagram and Pinterest. And we just started Twitter as well as our YouTube. So we would love to have you at all of them. You can sign up for our letter on our website. And so we'd love to have you. So thank you so much. Stay well. Have a great holiday season, and I will see you soon.